And we are back. We're going to be talking about My Hero Academia today, but for those who don't know the anime, the synopsis goes a little something like this. The appearance of Quirk's newly discovered superpowers has been steadily increasing over the years, with 80% of humanity possessing various abilities from manipulation of elements to shapeshifting. This leaves the remainder of the world completely powerless, and Izuku Midoriya is one such individual. Since he was a child, the ambitious middle schooler has wanted nothing more than to be a hero. Izuku's unfair fate leaves him admiring heroes and taking notes on them whenever he can. But it seems that his persistence has borne some fruit. Izuku meets the number one hero and his personal idol, All Might. All Might's quirk is a unique ability that can be inherited, and he has chosen Izuku to be his successor. And during many months of grueling training, Izuku enrolls in UA High, a prestigious high school famous for its excellent hero training program, and this year's freshmen look especially promising. With his bizarre but talented classmates and the looming threat of a villainous organization, Izuku will soon learn what it really means to be a hero. So we have 6 seasons of this anime out now. We've got the superhero genre in full swing. And I'm going to be honest, the first 3 seasons didn't really do it for me. I watched the first one, it got a lot of hype, and I was like, all right, what are we working with? And Izuku was fine, everybody likes Deku, but he just didn't grab me out the gate. All Might was pretty funny. He kind of looks like Chester the Cheeto guy, the mascot for Cheetos when he's not in, his superhero form. It had a couple little things here and there, but overall it didn't really grab me. And then the second season comes around, and you've got basically the tuning exams from Naruto, but with our classmates here. And there were definitely some really good scenes, like Shoto, Icy Hot. You got Todoroki there. Endeavor's son versus Deku is fantastic. It's your quirk, it's not his. Like, there's some really good moments there. Um, the whole tournament, it's kind of doing the same thing the tuning exams do. It's getting more time with the characters, and there's just so many characters. And when you start getting 40, 50, 60 plus characters on the roster, that's just a lot of mouths to feed, and it's really hard to flesh out that many characters and keep you invested. I mean, I feel like I'm always invested in Shoto, basically invested in Deku. I want more though. All Might definitely, Eraserhead continues to get better and better, and we'll delve more into these characters as we continue here, but I'm just going to do like a season by season breakdown. We get to season 3, and I haven't mentioned Shigaraki yet, but I feel like he's a pretty underwhelming villain. He's kind of just a brat, if you will. He's just not that investing. So you kind of get him in the first couple seasons, and then you get All for One against All Might, and you're like, okay, so this is the big baddie, this is the big villain, and it's a really good showdown. All Might kind of, passes the mantle, passes the torch to Deku in a really cool scene. Some good moments throughout there, but I kid you not, when we get to season 4, Overhaul versus Mirio, everything changes. Like, I was like, I'll just watch it. I need to catch up on my Bone series here. Let me get My Hero season 3 in, and then season 4 drops. And my friend Connor texted me. He's like, dude, you have to watch it. I was like, all right, fine. And Overhaul versus Mirio is so next level. It's disgusting. Mirio had a really silly like debut. He comes in, everyone's kind of laughing at him. He's showing off his power. He seems overpowered, but he's like really goofy and silly. And then it just gets more serious. I think once the show really started taking itself a little bit more seriously, it doesn't have to be dark and gritty, but it wasn't so anticky. It wasn't a joke here, 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 and here. Oh, and then we'll throw in a series. No, like, we got down to business. Overhaul laid claim. He demanded respect. He kind of ruffled Shigaraki's feathers in that regard. Like, it felt like Shigaraki was like, oh my god, I'm getting one-upped by another villain. I really need to do something. So we get all of that epicness in that first half of season 4. Night Eye goes down. We get some stakes. We save the cute and cuddly little girl there with the super OP quirk. I think her name's Eri. So we save the day, but at what cost? Deku learns so much. Deku grows. All Might is so broken and kind of conflicted now as the mentor piece to Deku, as he can't really upgrade anymore. All of Deku's classmates are starting to, really come into their own. And it's just starting to get better. And then I feel like the second half of season 4 kind of goes back to old habits with the festival, but you had to take a little breather after how good the first half was. But then we get to season 5, and it really does a great job of, one, we get more Hawks, and I absolutely adore the number 2 hero. He's such a stud muffin. And we get his kind of undercover mission, and I love everything dealing with that. Endeavor comes full circle. Endeavor continues to get better and better and better. The second season, you're like, oh, who is this garbage dad? Who is, Shoto's garbage father? He's terrible, but he just continues to develop, and it just feels like it comes out of nowhere, and you just gotta like tip your hat to My Hero as they continue to build on things that I didn't really think were gonna, amount to anything. So I have to give that to them. And then that brings us to season 6 that we just finished on. Or I just kind of skipped over. At the end of season 5 really delves into the villain side of things. So you get more of Twice, and you get more of Shigaraki. Once you get Shigaraki's backstory, I think that's another game changer. Seeing what he came from and what happened, and kind of the manipulation of All For One, or it's crazy. It just adds so many layers to Shigaraki. So I was so angry when he kind of, messed up Overhaul and kind of shut down his power. And I was like, dude, you don't do that to Overhaul. Overhaul's my boy. But there was so much respect for Shigaraki. So when we get to season 6, and we get the Dobby twist and that connection with Endeavor, that's fantastic. Deku goes completely ham, kind of vigilante Deku, taking everything into his own hands, is insanely good. Eraserhead, like when Shigaraki is broken out of the vat where he's like sleeping and he's trying to upgrade, and all of that is taking place with the crazy doctor. It's so good. The decay goes through, and like you lose so many heroes. The one like Dragon Shield hero saves Eraserhead. Like, it's just so good. Then you get so many fights throughout season 6. You're so invested at this point. So that's kind of just the overview of the 6 seasons, kind of back to back to back. I really didn't delve in. I didn't even talk about Stain, but I have a whole list of characters here, and kind of going back to the point I made, where there's so many characters, like these long running shonens. It's just so many guys and girls that you have to get on screen, and you got to give time here and time over there. And it's really hard to keep you invested in every single person. So you usually default to the mains, and then if the main characters aren't good enough to carry, you're just stuck with so many side characters. So kind of hitting on that, let's just go through a bunch of these characters and see where we're at investment wise, and how good or bad or how well developed they get throughout the series. So first, Deku. I think he actually ends up being a really strong main character throughout the 6 seasons. He gradually gets better and better, and as someone who loves Naruto, it's funny, I was just not really willing to do that with My Hero, but Deku himself has really come into his own. I love his dynamics with Shoto and Bakugo and All Might and Eraserhead. Like, he has such good qualities, and he divvies them out with all of the characters around him, and it came full circle in season 6 where everyone was willing to do anything for him, and vice versa. So huge shout out to Deku. Shoto is one of the best characters in the show. Icy Hot has a really good backstory where his parents are he's in a really tough spot. He's got his siblings. There's just so many stressors there, but he just continues to get better and better, and Deku kind of rubs off on him with his resolve. And then with the Dobby reveal in season 6, my goodness, like, what do you do with that? So now you have Endeavor, Dobby, and Shoto kind of all in this trifecta, and that continues to get better and better. Then we got Bakugo. I really don't care for Bakugo that much. He's just kind of like, like, he's just so loud and obnoxious, and you can say, well, that's the point, but I feel like there just needs to be a little bit more, and his dynamic with Deku is really good, but that's kind of it. Like, there's so many throwaway scenes where they just let him do his obnoxious noises, and then they cut. Like, at least Ikeda usually has something he can call back to his older brother, something he learned from the past. But Bakugo is just so bent on, I have to beat Deku. And some scenes, they capture that really well, especially when he's like, I feel like All Might, failed because of me, or this happened to All Might because of me. Like, when he's taking responsibility and accountability, whether it's his fault or not, you get some self-reflection in Bakugo, and I like that. But I think he peaked season 3 where he fought Deku and kind of came to terms with that, and then he brought it full circle in season 6 when he goes in and fights Shigaraki and takes the blades in front of Deku. So that's really good. Another nod to Naruto. It's kind of the same thing. Sasuke jumping in front of Naruto. So many good allusions from Naruto. So if you can't beat the best, you got to take a page from their book and just go for it. Then we have All Might, of course. So the big guy himself, the predator, or not the predecessor, but kind of the guy mentoring Deku and showing him the way. He's just a really strong character throughout, and it's so interesting to see him use his power throughout the first 3 seasons or so, and then kind of walk away from it and not being able to, and kind of having his hands tied in that regard. He has such a phenomenal dynamic with Deku, and it's so cool to see the public perception of him and how him not being number one hero has affected things. His dynamic with Endeavor is really big, just people's perception of him, and then vice versa. Like, what do they do with that is just super interesting. All for One's dynamic, and then how that's passed on from generation to generation. And there's just so many good scenes kind of discussing like where All Might came from and where Deku is going. So I really like All Might and what he brings to the table, if nothing else, for all those generations of All for One. Then we have Aizawa or Racerhead, a phenomenal character. He just gets better and better. I feel like early on, he's kind of just a funny character as well. But man, he turns into such a stud muffin when he's trying to find his lost friend with Mike is really good. Him teaching the students is really strong. And then, of course, when he's in combat and spearheading at season 6, when he gives himself, is ridiculous. So I love Aizawa, love Eraserhead. Kirishima, Red Riot, a solid side character. He has a really good dynamic with Bakugo. Has a really good moment trying to take down the giant there with the squad. You like that. Uraraka, a strong female character. She definitely gets the googly eyes for Deku sometimes, but overall, I feel like she's grown really into her own by season 6. And when she kind of makes that speech to everyone at the end and really stands up for Deku, you gotta respect that. And I think she's growing into her own as we move to season 7 here. And then kind of spearheading off of Uraraka, you have Toga, kind of the opposite, the shapeshifter who likes to steal people's blood. She is absolutely insane. She fits her role really well on the villain side of things. And you had like a 1v1 versus her and Uraraka there in season 6, where you kind of get to see both sides of that. I think she fulfills it fine. I like her dynamic with Dobby and the squad of villains there. And then we have Sue, the frog character. She's great. She's got some good comic relief moments, a really good dynamic with Uraraka. We talked about Dobby. I absolutely love his quirk. It's kind of like that dark flame of Endeavor. And it's just such a good dynamic now that the truth is out, and who Dobby is just adds another layer to it. I love the scenes with him twice and Hawks there at the beginning of season 6, where that kind of, they have that dynamic and that dilemma going down where Hawks is kind of forced to put down twice, and then Dobby's like, dude, if you're a hero, what are you doing? Like, putting everything into question, and then all of that goes public is fantastic. I don't want this video to go on too long, so I'm gonna try to get through these characters. All for One, kind of your big bad villain. He's manipulating Shigaraki, but it makes you feel, it's kind of like the Madara Obito. He's pulling the strings, but you definitely feel for both of them in that regard. But I definitely lean towards Shigaraki now. I feel like he's more fully developed. You got Ayama, the laser beam. He's kind of a throwaway for me. He's fine. Is it Tamaki, or the Sun Eater? He's part of the big 3 with Mirio. I really love his design. We haven't got too much time with him, but anytime we do get, he's kind of a shy. He wants to be Mirio, but he's not. Then you got Mina. She's got the acid. We've talked about twice. A really good complex villain. Like him a lot. It was Eri that we saved in season 4. Love her quirk. Love how that she could reinstate Mirio in season 6. That was such a good scene when Mirio comes in from the side as he does. You got the huge giant dynamic with Shigaraki there. He does anything his master says. That's crazy. Fat Gum, as we've seen here, he absolutely pops off in season 4, and when he turns into a stud muffin, you're like, what? You did not see that coming. Just look at him. He's just a big bundle of joy. Best Genus is one that'll grow on you. Very laughable design, in my opinion. But he definitely gets there. I could literally go through all of these characters. Mirio is insane. Endeavor, Hawks is my boy. Such a stud muffin. But let's bring this to a conclusion to say that at first, I don't think My Hero really was what it was hyped up to be. But now looking at it as a full 6 seasons, I really like how far they've come. I really like the strides they've made. The animation is great. The soundtrack, the intros and outros, everything. I love where the story's going. I'm really there for on the villain side of things. I'm really there on the good guy side of things. Mineta, his screen time has been cut in full. Like, we don't get any more stupid pervy purple ball scenes. That always feels good. So it's just crazy. When I originally was going to make this video, it was going to be very negative in nature, but now I'm looking and I'm excited for what's to come. I'm very interested to see how season 7 goes. I definitely think season 6 was very consistent compared to the rest. I think it peaked in season 4 with Overhaul versus Mirio. But yeah, I'm actually just positive and very optimistic for what's to come. So My Hero, this one's for you. Great job. Great job proving me wrong and showing me that you can be an awesome shonen, that I can get invested in, and that I can be excited for what's to come. So as always, thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it. And I will catch you on the flip. Peace.